Every analyst said the threat was just a scare tactic. But what if the arrest actually happened and the people who count the votes simply walked away?
This story is fictional. It's based on real events, but everything beyond the known facts is speculation. Our goal is to explore an alternate timeline, not to rewrite history, but to imagine what might have been.
In July of 2026, the Department of Justice sent a letter to more than a dozen state election officials. The message was blunt. If a single vote was cast by a non-citizen in their state, those officials could be arrested. They had 5 days to explain in detail how they would guarantee it happened. Jessica Huseman of VoteBeat obtained the document and laid out what it meant. State election directors, county clerks, the ordinary public servants who run the machinery of American democracy, were suddenly being told that one voter's mistake could put them in a federal cell. Most officials knew the truth. Non-citizen voting is already illegal everywhere, already vanishingly rare, prosecuted when it happens and caught by the checks that exist. But the demand was never really about numbers. It was about fear, and the clock was already running. But what if those 5 days had not ended in lawyers trading letters? What if the DOJ, facing a state that refused to sign the pledge, had actually made good on the threat and sent federal agents to arrest a sitting Secretary of State? It began in a mid-sized where the Secretary of State, a career administrator with 20 years of service, wrote back a single defiant paragraph. She would follow the law as written. She would not sign a promise she could not physically keep because no election system on earth can guarantee zero human error. The 6th day, federal agents walked into her office and led her out in handcuffs in front of the local press. The image detonated across the country within the hour. Half the nation saw a criminal finally held accountable. The other half saw a democracy arresting the people who count the votes. The next morning, election officials in 9 other states resigned. Not in protest exactly, in terror. County clerks with modest salaries and no legal defense fund decided the job was no longer worth prison. In 3 rural counties, entire offices emptied out in a single afternoon. No one was left who knew the passwords to the voter registration systems. No one certified to test the machines. Nobody who understood the certification calendar. The federal government responded by announcing it would send its own personnel to oversee elections in affected states. Governors called it an occupation and ordered state police to bar federal officers from county buildings. In 2 states, armed state troopers stood on the courthouse steps facing armed federal agents across a strip of pavement. Cameras caught it all. Then the lawsuits came, and with them, the paralysis. Courts issued conflicting orders. One federal judge blocked the arrests, another upheld them. A third ordered the resigned officials reinstated, but they refused to come back. The certification deadlines for the fall elections began to slide past with no one authorized to certify anything. Businesses felt it before the politicians admitted it. Bond markets in the affected states eased up as investors realized no one could say who legally governed them. A major credit agency downgraded 3 states in a single week, citing, in dry language, a breakdown in the continuity of government. Interest rates climbed on everything from mortgages to municipal water projects. A hospital expansion stalled, a bridge repair was canceled, and ordinary people started to feel the arrest of one election official in the price of their car loan. Meanwhile, the fear spread down. Poll workers, the retirees and teachers and neighbors who staff precincts for $100 a day, quit in their tens of thousands. Why risk a federal charge over a stranger's ballot? When the fall elections arrived, hundreds of precincts could not open. Lines stretched for blocks at the few that did. In cities, people waited 8 hours and gave up. Some rural counties simply did not hold a vote at all. Now there were 2 Americas arguing over a single set of results. States run by one party certified their elections using emergency appointees. States run by the other refused to recognize those appointees as legitimate. When the national results came in, incomplete and contested, both sides declared them fraudulent. The word that had been thrown around loosely for years, illegitimate, now had teeth. For the first time, it was arguably true. No one could honestly say the election had been run cleanly because it had barely been run at all. Protests filled the capitals. Some turned violent. Governors activated guard units and, in a few cases, pointed them not at rioters but at federal buildings. The president federalized guard units in return. For a tense week, soldiers who had trained together stood on opposite sides of state lines, taking orders from rival commanders-in-chief who each claimed to be the only lawful one. The chain reaction stopped finally, not with a decision, but with exhaustion. By the following spring, the country had no agreed-upon government at the national level. Several states operated as functional autonomous regions, printing their own emergency script when federal transfers froze. The dollar, once of the world economy, had lost a quarter of its value against every major currency, and foreign creditors were quietly dumping American debt. Allies abroad stopped returning calls, unsure who held real authority in Washington. Adversaries moved openly, testing borders and seizing territory while America looked inward at its own wreckage. All grown from a single letter and a 5-day deadline, not from an invasion or a plague or a bomb. From the simple decision to treat the people who count the votes as criminals until enough of them walked away that there was no one left to tell the country what it had chosen. A democracy does not die when someone steals an election. It dies when no one is left willing to run one.
In this world, history went one way. But here, we ask what could have happened. If you want more alternate timelines and government what-ifs, subscribe, comment your theory, and stay tuned. This is State of What If.